I don't think you're ready for this. I don't think I'm ready for this. Hi and welcome to Tabletop Gaming. My name is Charlie and today we are taking a look at the Grail game. Like, the Grail game. This is the game that everybody has and that everybody who doesn't have it desperately wants it, and there's this huge FOMO around it. Last I checked, it was number 9 on the Board Game Geek Top 100, which is insane. There was very little hubbub about it before it came out, and then all of a sudden it was everywhere. This is the best game I've ever played. I need to play this all the time. And if you haven't guessed what it is yet, it's Ark Nova. Now, just a heads up, this video is sponsored by Kienda, which is a place where you can go and buy your board games. They had this in stock and sent this over. They are the sponsors of this video. I'll pop their details in the description below. But thanks to them, I have Ark Nova in my hand. Now, there will be a review of it later, unfortunately not completed by me, so that we keep things nice and editorially clean. But I did get first dibs on unboxing it, so I thought we'd take a look inside, see what it's like, get an idea of first impressions, because if, like me, when it very first came out, I was looking at it being like, I don't know if I know much about this. Let's find out a little bit more about it, give you an idea of what you might be missing out on, and whether we think you should play it based on those first impressions, to be followed by, of course, the review. Okay, so first up we have the cover. Now, this game is based on building the best possible zoo that you can, which is, I know with board games we sometimes stick to strange themes, but I don't think zoo building is one that normally comes up. Like, Wingspan surprised us all because suddenly we're all bird fans. Like, zoo building is fun, but not one you'd go, do you know what, best game of the century is going to be the one where you build a zoo. Now, the other thing I want to point out on first impressions is this is hefty. This is not a light game at all. There is a lot in there, and it's also quite a large shaped. Is it going to fit in a calyx? Is it going to fit in a calyx? Is it going to fit in a calyx? Let's have a look. Right, so. Alright, upwards it fails the calyx test. But sideways we're okay. Okay, so that's possibly why we've got quite a nice side panel on there. So, oh yeah, it fits. It fits, we're okay. Storage-wise, we are fine. But it is too tall to fit in lengthways, so just bear that in mind. If I compare it to what I consider like standard Kallax box size, it's probably something like Everdell. You'll see we've got an extra bit on top of there. I'm not going to try and guess measurement, not least because I haven't got my glasses on, but also because I'm rubbish at it. Now, Ark Nova retails for about £70. You can pick up versions cheaper than that. I think this was around £50 on Kienda. So keep an eye out, and keep an eye on the second hand as well. Although, honestly, these aren't cropping up second hand yet, which is a sign of what we hope is a good game. Now, I'll give you one last look at the back so you can see what you can expect. You can see why perhaps it's quite as heavy as it is, and then we'll take a look inside. So Ark Nova is for ages 14 plus. It is for 1 to 4 players and takes between 90 and 150 minutes to play. It's a game designed by Matthias Wigg, please excuse me if I've said that incorrectly, and has 255 cards featuring animals, specialists, unique encounters and conservation projects with particular abilities. Are you ready? Let's take a look inside. I imagine the storage on this has got to be pretty good because there's just so much to it. Okay, so what have we got? We begin, as you would expect, with an assortment of stuff, including meeples or little people, maybe? I'm going to guess that's what these are. Let's have a quick look at what those look like. So we have different colours, I presume for different players, which look a little something like this. Now, we then have different blocks, which I believe are sort of to claim that this is where I am, or this is what I'm going to do next. Those are, of course, in the same colours. I won't get those out because we know what they look like. They're sort of your standard, I need to claim a spot type ones, without being too big and without being too difficult. Any little silica gel, do not eat that. Many bags. This is going to take me so long to put stuff away. I can see it now. Look at that. Look at that! At least hopefully there are an appropriate number here, because there's nothing worse than when you're trying to pack away a game, you've separated everything perfectly and they haven't given you enough bags to keep it all separated and you're like, why did I bother doing this? Anyway, so, instruction booklet. Thinner than I expected given the weight of the game. But we're not looking at that many pages, to be honest. 20 pages max, so that's pretty good. We've got an idea, sort of your usual idea of components, and then let's do the sort of how many pictures test. So we've got a nice idea of what the setup should look like, of sort of as you play through the game, the different options. So there is a lot of text that isn't hugely broken up. However, people have quoted this as being very easy to learn. So I'm hoping that that's because the instructions are quite so good as they are, and that perhaps this gives you a good sort of variation in instructions. So, I need this, I'll go check. Yeah, no, I've got it, and I don't need to refer back again. Fingers crossed. One thing I will add to that though is it's quite nice, there's quite a few examples. So there's lots of bits going, if this happened, let's see how this plays out, and there's this. And I find those are a lot easier to learn from and make a lot more sense when you're trying to learn how to play it too. Now, still more paper, we have the glossary, so just giving you an idea of everything. There's quite a lot there, but it does give you a lot of explanation, so it's not just this is what the word means. It is also, this is what the word means, but here's how you're going to play it. So that probably speed things up quite a lot as well. Read it once in the instructions, then track it down in the glossary when you need it. And the last one is an icon overview, because obviously there is a lot to this game in theory. There's a lot to look at, a lot to see. It's probably quite nice to have that on hand. So these generally look like something like either player boards or ones that sit as an extra scoring track. I'm going to guess player boards though. And then, she says perhaps these look like individual spaces too. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of those, which are double-sided. Now these are made up of card, so I'd say not too robust, but they are perfectly reasonable for what we expect from a board game. They're just not physical boards, which I think might actually be a benefit given how much stuff is in here and how heavy it is already. You could easily take someone out with this board game. Tokens wise, we've got, again, a lot. I feel like this is what I'm going to be saying quite often is, there's a lot of tokens, there's a lot of this, there's a lot of that, because it's a very heavy sort of game. Heavy as in physical, not heavy as in weighting, not heavy as in like board game understanding weight, you know what I mean. These are mostly the same, which is why I'm doing them quite quickly, but it just should give you an idea of the sort of things we're looking at, and quite nicely how colourful the game is as well, which means that once you've got everything set up and once you start playing, you get a really quite impressive board appear in front of you with the amount of things that you have. Now, 250 cards. We'll have a look at those in a second. I'll go through those in a moment. I want to get to the bottom of the box first, but we do start with Meerkat Den. Each time you play a herbivore icon into your zoo, gain 2 something. I don't know what that something is. That's a token. It is to appeal, because I have my icon reference, thank goodness. And place it next to at least one rock space, so presumably we're building outwards. Now, oh, there's a nice surprise in here, I'll tell you about that in a moment. This is going to be our board itself. This is where much of the size comes in. You can see how quite vast that is. We're going a little bit bigger than our usual one, not quite a wingspan, but pretty long. And we have numbers at the top and then places along the middle and then different things. So this is also double-sided. Interesting. Do you use both sides? I don't know. You need to sit and read the instructions and find out. Now, the bit that I found interesting that I really liked at the bottom of this, we have trays. Because storing that did not seem like fun, and this is a really nice way to do it. The question I have, almost as always, is what bit goes in which bit? Like, you give me bags and you give me trays. Which bits go in where? But hey, that's a lesson to learn, that's something to find out later, and I'll probably disagree every time I put it back anyway. Now, just before we dive into looking at those cards to get a better idea of the game, I am just going to say, once again, this video has been sponsored by Kienda. Thank you ever so much. They are a new UK-based board game retailer, so you can find them online, where there's a ton of benefits to doing so. There's like loyalty schemes, there's refer a friend, there's the more you buy, the more you save, they have next day delivery over a certain cost. There's a lot of things in there to like about it, and they packaged what they sent this through beautifully. Plus, whether it affects your buying decisions or not, they're really nice people and I really like chatting to them. So there's also that to them as well. Links are in the description. You can find them at kinder.co.uk, but let's crack on. Okay, so as usual with cards, I won't go through hundreds of these because, frankly, we'd be here all day. There's 250 of them. So we'll go through just a couple to get an idea. We've already mentioned the Meerkat Den. I'm going to go for a slightly different coloured one. Let's go for a green one, which is Blue Mountains National Park, which gives the option to release one animal with an Australia icon into the wild. That's pretty cool. Now, the back pattern that we're going with is this. Let's see how that matches up, because I think they are all the same. So this is going to be one draw pile, presumably, because we've got the same for our meerkat friends as well. Now, for a different style of card, we have sponsors. So these are double-sided. We have a blue side and a purple side with a 1 and a 2. The first one lets you play one sponsor from your hand with a maximum level of X from your hand. Break X, gain X. They've got different icons on, but they do say X, that's why. And then the second one is play 2 or more. So presumably higher risk, higher reward, higher abilities, higher reward. Now, just in similar vein to that card, we have animals, and then the same on the other side, where we have a 1 and a 2 and a specific set of things that we can do as a result. And then we move into very different coloured cards. So we have brown ones and green ones. For brown ones, we have a large animal zoo. I quite like seeing the little animals on there. I think it's very quirky. Look, we've got a small animal zoo. Research zoo, architectural zoo, conservation zoo, naturalist zoo, favourite zoo, sponsored zoo, biodiverse zoo, climbing park and aquatic park. So I wonder if you get these early on to dictate what sort of things you're going to try and drive for, potentially. But that is guesswork. Let me know in the comments if you've already played, let me know, or if you've researched already, let me know. And then finally our green ones here. We've got species diversity, habitat diversity. So again, potentially maybe something you're trying to use. Maybe these are point scorers. Maybe these are the things that if you manage these, you get more points, because we've got reptiles, require reptile tokens in your zoo. So a pretty good spread, actually, of stuff. More differences than I expected. I think this might be where people are like, oh, it's a little bit more complicated than I thought. Mostly because if you're going to have to balance the differentiation in tokens or sort of board pieces alongside this many cards, it might not be perhaps as easy as a super light game that you may be coming from, but certainly no massive ridiculous game either, because everything is very plain English, everything makes sense. I can't wait to get stuck into this. I'm so excited. Okay, so these, we go back to the original style. They're all the same style of tokens. So for a random selection here, we have our red panda. We've got a special ability that seems to crop up here, and then we've also got things along the side. So presumably these are what they contribute to if you're trying to collect certain things. We've got a wombat, because who doesn't like a wombat? A European adder with a skill or bonus that's referred to as hypnosis, which I find quite amusing. And then finally our lion, and I wonder why I picked that. And in that one you gain 1 token for each predator icon in your zoo. So interesting. I wonder if it's a case of like, okay, cool, well, you've got these types of animals in and they give you these bonuses, and you keep locking up your bonuses until you have cool specials at the end. Alright, there is one more pack. We'll have another look through. By the look of the sides of it, it is another set of animals, or those initial cards that we talked about, but let's find out. Okay, so we're half right. So we do have all the same backing on them, but half of them are animals and half of them are something else. So animal-wise, we're looking at very similar things, although interestingly, the common wall lizard has no abilities listed here. So maybe he's like an early one or a cheap one or something along those lines. And looking through, there are the odd 1 or 2 that are like that. But we've got, this seems to be sort of more birds. We've got peacocks, we've got owls, we've got a condor, we've got a white stork, greater flamingo, and then sheep. So, you know, and a guinea pig. Shout out to Bad Squiddo for a guinea pig, and an alpaca, and a wallaby. So plenty of really cute animals. I imagine you can collect your favourites, but there'll probably be benefits to collecting the bigger, scarier ones. Now the last ones, as I say, have the same background but have different things. So we have, for example, a science lab, we have a spokesperson, we have a vet. I imagine that is particularly useful. And something I find really interesting is that these cards have all got pictures. So quite often we see artwork instead of pictures, and where pictures are used, generally it doesn't work very well. Like generally they're used in place of artwork where artwork would have been better. But these fit in really nicely. There's nothing in them that's obtrusive. It all feels really well designed to complement the photography rather than trying to cover up that it's not artwork, and I just find it really interesting. I'm so excited to get into this. I'm a little bit behind though. I would love to hear your thoughts, because everybody seems to have this, so let me know what it is that you think of this game. Does this deserve its spot on the Board Game Geek Top 100? Do you think this is Game of the Year? Do you think this is Game of the Forever? I want to hear your thoughts. Because interestingly, at the Kennerspiel, it only got a sort of honourable mention. It didn't get nominated fully and it didn't win. So, not a Spiel des Jahres winner, but could it be our winner? Could it be our favourite for this year? Let me know in the comments because I would love to hear. Now, of course, we are Tabletop Gaming. We produce a monthly magazine, so head over to tabletopgaming.co.uk to find that. Whilst you're there, you'll also find that there's a ton of stuff online: news, reviews, interviews, everything you could ask for, plus the options for things like shops. You can buy tickets to our show. You can find cool stuff. So you should absolutely check that out. If you're a fan of anything on tabletop, we're going to have something for you, I can practically promise. While you're here, hit like, hit subscribe, stick around for more, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.